Hello everybody and welcome to Outside the Box Soaps. Today I'm going to be doing another first. I was searching online for a palm-free recipe. I do use palm oil, I do use sustainable palm oil, but I'm almost out of supplies and I have an order coming in about 2 days. So I was looking for a palm-free recipe and I stumbled upon this recipe on the Brambleberry Soap Queen blog, and it is for making soap rocks. So I thought that's an interesting thing to try, and so that's what I'm going to do today. I am going to be making soap rocks or soap stones, which I like to call them. And so I have all of my oils in here. I have coconut, olive, rice bran, castor, and there is some cocoa butter in here as well. This is a small recipe, so I'm going to be using the smaller 10-inch mold today. This is about a 2-pound recipe. And I have another new thing for today. I am also using silk in my soap for the first time, so I'm anxious to see the difference in the feel of the finished product with this. And I do have a tip for you. If you do plan to use silk and you have cats in your house, hide your silk. My cat went ballistic from the time I opened the bag. He was trying to claw into it, so I have had to put it in a box and zip up the lid very tightly so he can't get into it. So that's just a tip. I'm going to just strain my lye solution now. And everything is just a little above 90 degrees. So I think that we are ready to start making soap. Let's see what's going on here with the sieve. Smush that down just a bit. And get the last bits of that lye water with the silk. And how you use the silk, just in case you don't know, you cut it up into little tiny pieces. And you only use about a cotton-sized ball for 4 pounds. So you don't use a lot of it, which is good. So that's what I did. I cut it up, I put it right into my lye water, and then you just stir it until it dissolves. So this is a small recipe. This is probably only about 2 pounds in total. So I'm going to pause you for just a sec and I'll be right back. So this is a 2-part video because we will be doing part 1 today, which is actually making the soap that we're going to use for the soap stones. And then it has to sit overnight, finish curing, and then you cut it up and you sort of form the stones as the soap is still quite soft. So right now I'm going to be doing the production process, and then I will come back and add another video tomorrow after the soap is finished. Okay, let's get this going. So the benefits of silk in your soap is that it will make your bars look more shiny and they will be more silky. So they feel nice, and it's the first time that I'm actually doing it. I don't think I've ever used soap with silk, at least not to my knowledge. So I will be interested to see when I get a chance to test the finished product. Okay, so I'm going to be adding my fragrance oil, and for this batch what I'm using is patchouli oil. I actually had a couple people ask for patchouli soap. So I have, again, put some of my oils into my fragrance in a separate bowl. And this really makes a difference in helping it to not shock your soap batter so much. I found it to be a really useful tip. And the thing about patchouli oil, if you're going to use it for your soap, it is a very dark colored oil. So just know that you will need to plan around that. As you can see in the bowl, it's almost an amber color. And I have to look into it. I'm not sure if it comes in a clearer version, but the one I happened to order was this amber. So that's what we're using today. Now the Brambleberry soap rocks were actually gray, but I'm going to make mine black. So I have some black oxide that I'm going to add to my entire batter right now. And whoopsie daisy, we got a big mess here. Didn't work out quite so well to use that patchouli. Looks like it sent my stuff into a little bit of a fit. Okay, I'm going to try something right now. And when I come back, if it works, I will be happy to share it with you. So, okay, we're back. So that did not work. What I tried was to heat this up for just a little bit, like 10 seconds, and it didn't work. But I think that because I'm making soap rocks, I'm going to give this a shot anyway. And I'm going to hope that these chunks of uncolored soap are going to just add to the finished look and make it look a little more realistic. So I'm going to just hand scoop this in, and I'm going to fill it up. Guess we want to try to get maybe three different layers here. Can bang that down. And it is very messy, folks. I do apologize, but I'm going to have to be messy today. As many times as I try to wipe up, I get messy again. So the thing that is going to help this to look like a rock is that there will be a layer of mica in between the soap layers. So I have some cappuccino mica in here, mixed in with a little bit of super sparkle mica. And when you're doing this, you don't want to completely cover your layer, because if you do that, it will separate in the process, and that will not give you what you want in the end. Okay, so we've got one layer in there. We're going to try for number 2. And just big chunks of uncolored soap in here. It's going to be very interesting. So that's partly why I make these videos, to kind of share my screw-ups as well as my triumphs, because they're not always triumphs. Okay. Alright, let's see what we get in the end. Stones do come in multicolors. I've seen those. So it may just end up giving us a more realistic look, or it may just ruin the whole thing. But we won't know until we give it a shot. So I'm not quite sure what did that. It might have been that patchouli. I have to be really careful about where I get my fragrances from. That one didn't come from a specific soap supplier, and it said that it was 100% grade A patchouli oil. So I don't know, but I'm guessing that it sort of did this the minute I put that fragrance in there. So I'm thinking that that's the culprit. All right. Got my gloves hanging off my hands here. Okay, so let's do another layer of mica. And it also lightened up a bit, so it is going to end up being gray unless it darkens in the gel process, gel phase process. Okay, so now let's get, I think I'm going to put just a little bit more right in that corner. And clean this up as best I can. It's not really coming clean. Okay, so let's get the next one. And get that in there. Whew. Lots of white and uncolored soap going in here. So maybe it'll look like marble after it's all said and done. And I can call it soap marble instead of soap rock or soapstone. I'm just going to take this off altogether because it just split. And it's kind of silly to be trying to do this with the glove half on, excuse me, and half off of my hand. So, all right. Get a fairly smooth layer here if I can. Gonna do one more coating with the mica. All right, and I'm gonna take the rest of what's in my pot. And it is getting hard. So just going to take the rest of it. It's almost like clay at this point. So another interesting adventure in soap making. All right, so I'm going to flatten this out, and because I'm doing it this way, I'm getting some of that mica mixing in. I guess that's because I've got my hands in here and I'm not pouring, I'm sort of spreading the soap batter. All right, so I think that that's about the best it's going to get at this point. So I am going to take this, clean it up. I am going to gel it. So if there's anyone watching who doesn't know what I mean by gelling the soap, when you mix lye with the butters, it goes through a process called saponification, and that's how it becomes soap. So part of that process, during part of that process, it really emits a lot of heat. And if you capture that heat by wrapping this, then you will get the soap will take on, the finished soap will take on sort of a translucent appearance. But one of the things that gelling does is it really brings your colors out. So you get very vibrant colors when you do gel your soap. And, you know, there are people who believe it should be gelled. There are people who don't gel their soap. It's really a personal preference. But for this bar, and especially after what happened to this loaf, I am going to gel it. And I hope that as it goes through the process, it'll solidify a little bit. Okay, so let me get this mess cleaned up. And I will see you tomorrow when we're ready to cut. Okay, so it is the next day, and I have taken that soap that's seized up, the soap rocks. It has dried out, and I've taken it out of the mold. I've cut it up. It does have big chunks of white in it, but since we're doing stones, I'm going to try and finish this project. Now, the mica lines are not as visible and clear as they would have been if it didn't seize up. But we'll see what happens. So the next thing that you do with this, and I've cut a couple different sizes so that we have different sized stones here. So the next thing that you do with this, and I really don't need gloves because this is not stinging or burning anymore. The next thing you do, it is set, but it's still pretty soft. So what I'm going to do is sort of mold it in my hands into a stone because it's square right now, and it is still pretty moldable, very pliable. So there's not a lot of trouble in making this happen and trying to reshape it. So this is just a matter of, I guess, getting it to a shape that you're happy with. And I do see what's happening. It looked like I had too much mica in some spots because it is separating. So that's a good learning for the next time that I decide to do this, if I decide to do this again. So it's kind of cool. It's a little like clay. It's not quite like clay, but it's a little like clay. So I'm going to try to get this into some sort of a rock formation. And once you do that, and once you get it to a shape that you're happy with, then the next thing you do is you just take it and you dip it into some hot water, and that gives it a nice sheen. It puts a nice finish on it. It helps it to set up nicely in the new form, the shape of a rock. So while this is not perfectly the way I'd like it to look, I'm gonna just take this one and I'm gonna dip it for you so we can see what it looks like. And again, this is all in real time. I've not done this before, so you're seeing it for the first time, as am I. All right, so that's what it looks like now. Take it, dip it into some hot water, and I'm just sort of rubbing it down a little bit because it had gotten so lumpy and clumpy right away. There are some gaps in the soap and some spaces, as you know, you can see. So I'm trying to fill them in now that it's wet. So here is cool what it looks like after it's been dipped, and I'm just going to try to smooth over some of those cracks and those holes that are in here, and I'm going to smooth that over. And then the next thing that you do with this is you just take it and you place it on a piece of paper towel, and then you leave it alone to dry. So rather than bore you with this molding process for each piece, I'm going to pause. I will go ahead and shape the rest of my stones, and then I will post some pictures at the end of what they all look like when they're done. So I hope that this has been interesting for you. It certainly has been interesting for me. So this is a great idea. I just had some stuff go wrong when I put the patchouli in, but I think it can still be salvaged. That's the good thing, is you know, things will happen. It's how do we make lemonade when we get lemons. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And again, I'll post some pictures. So thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.